My name is David Carew. I work with Meat Livestock Australia. Welcome to Master Cuts. Today we're going to have a deep dive and look into the beef rump. The beef rump is made up of multiple muscle, and that gives us a really wonderful opportunity to think about how we can value add this product, maximize the impact and the value that we can create from it. Controversially, rump is better as a broken down muscle component, simply because we can elevate the value of the individual cuts. It's a one cut, multiple destination item that ideally would feature across a good menu with probably 4 or 5 different outcomes and alternatives that we can produce from this one muscle group. So, ultimate aim today, let's take this muscle, develop that into fine dining, food service, QSR type cuts. They're going to work well for you and your customers, and importantly, using Australian beef, you have the confidence of using the world's premier beef. Before we get started, let's talk about specification of Australian meat. The AusMeat manual, which is a product of the Australian meat industry, sets out very clear guidelines on specification. And this is all in order to assist the chef find exactly what he's looking for. So on this occasion, we have a D rump in front of us. So I'm just going to roll that over, and just with my fingers first, I'm going to help find where that muscle component sits. And just by using my fingers, I can work my way through that muscle group, easily identifying where each group of muscles sits by that selvage of fat or silver skin. On this occasion, I'll be removing first the rump cap. And there we have now 2 products and what would be known as 2 subprimals. The subprimal rump cap from the rump specification and the subprimal roast beef. We're going to set that roast beef aside just for one moment, and we're going to just prepare the rump cap, which has been quite a successful and popular cut of recent times, made largely popular due to that Brazilian type of barbecue cooking, and quite often referred to as the picanha cut. Once again, as always, I'll ensure that we keep all trimmings and any fat deposits, just to give you an indication of exactly what type of yield you should expect from these cutting exercises. And there we have our rump cap product. So the only tricks to the trade with cutting rump cap is understanding the direction of the meat fibre. And it's our ultimate goal as a butcher to ensure that we identify the direction in which way the fibre is running and then cut against that. And what that does very simply is it shortens the fibre length, and then with the orientation of that going into the mouth means the customer can bite between the fibres. Naturally, if we cut this the wrong way, the customer has no alternative than to chew through every single fibre, and of course that makes that experience naturally a little bit tougher. So only trick to the trade, we would remove that silver skin, we'd portion these steaks out and make a delicious rump cap steak. Putting that to one side now, we're going to concentrate on the roast beef. There's a real opportunity for us to actually value add this cut. As it sits, it's quite a lean cut, but as I said earlier, there's multiple muscle on this product, and when we turn this over, you can see what's affectionately referred to as the pillow sitting on the underbelly of that rump. So before we get started, I'd like to remove that. And once again, we just use our fingers to help us find where all those muscle groups sit. And before the knife even gets close to it, we've started to pull that muscle meat apart, so we know exactly where the knife needs to help us free away that content. And we've just removed what we call the rump pillow. This is a really interesting cut. Some of my colleagues in the MSA group have actually done quite a lot with this rump pillow. It's actually quite a good, delicious cut. And I think it's a valuable resource, the Meat Standards Australia group, as far as identifying the correct cut to cook method for a lot of these cuts. So you can go to the trouble of separating out that small muscle that you can see in front of you there now, and you would merchandise that as a rump pillow, and that rump pillow is perfect and ideal for things like salads and quick fast meals. For food service application when you're doing a lot of quantity, however, I think there's probably a little bit too much work there for you to do. So I would suggest we would just dice this up and put this into a ragu mince. As you can see, there's lots of silver skin, lots of yield that we can maximize into a high performance ragu type mince. And that silver skin, as we've talked about previously, will only add to the eating characteristics of that meat. So in this application, I'm going to show you how we identify where that line of sinew sits and how to remove it as cleanly as we possibly can. So we follow that line, you can see it right through there. We're going to turn that over with that side in mind, and with my knife, I'm actually going to cut down onto the silver skin and work my knife just sliding it across the top of the silver skin so I can open that right up and very cleanly take out the silver skin without too much loss in yield. And if you can see what I'm doing in the camera, you can see even though it's a straight cut, it's at a slight angle, and that's the perfect way to remove that silver skin without taking too much yield away from it. And as you can see now, we just need to use our knife through that. And just, again, very slowly let the knife do the work. We can pull out that silver skin very cleanly with as minimal yield loss as possible. So you can see here we have an eye, and we have a roast beef. The rest of the roast beef. Now the eye is probably the prize of the roast beef, and as you can see, naturally it's coming out as a fairly natural round shape, which opens the door for it for multiple applications in food service. And there's not a lot we need to do with that other than preparing this and cooking this, and the texture is quite delicious, the texture is quite good off a really well grown, well farmed animal. The eating characteristics are just sensational. So when you look for branded Australian product, that's what you expect. That's all of that, the learnings of Australia, the objective measurement points that are unparalleled around the world. That is why we can deliver the performance and the level of consistency that we are able to as an industry. So that cut alone, in my mind, in food service, it's a great carpaccio cut.